The Philadelphia Eagles offense has been sputtering its way through the opening 3 games of the season, and there's more to it than just injuries. Sure, they're missing their top 2 wide receivers, but the team are also dealing with a complete lack of rushing identity and a flurry of drops as well. For this video, we're going to be focusing on the backfield, because the main question on the lips of every Eagles fan right now is what's the deal with Miles Sanders and why is he being tasked with such a heavy workload despite the fact he's still only averaging 3 yards per carry. And that's what we're going to be working out. Why isn't Jordan Howard getting the ball? Why are all the chips on Miles Sanders? And what's Darren Sproles doing after a breakout in week 1? My name is Liam Jenkins and this is another episode of Eagles Film Room. As always guys, if you're new around here and not yet subscribed, if you can hit that big red button, it will mean the absolute world to all of us here at Philly Sports Network, and leave a like if you enjoy this video, but mainly we want to hear your opinions. Drop your comments down below, be part of the growing PSN community. We would love to hear your thoughts on today's video and the overall running back situation. And finally, don't forget you can get your daily dose of Philadelphia sports coverage from myself and all of our writers over at phillysportsnetwork.com. Now the first thing I wanted to look at was formations and tendencies, because I don't know about you, but something seemed a little bit off in that loss to Detroit. And believe it or not, the Eagles didn't run a single running back screen, which when you consider they're without their top 2 wide receivers and you have 3 different types of back who are all viable pass catchers, it's a little bit surprising. And then I went and looked back a little bit further as to what the Eagles are running, and believe it or not, this year the team's pass rate under center is down to 44% and they pass out a shotgun 66% of the time. In 2017, the championship winning season, the run rate under center in 2017 was 71% of the time versus 29% out of the shotgun. The team ranked 3rd in rushing yards and 4th in yards per carry that year. This year so far has been close to a disaster. There was 2 fumbles at the weekend and again a complete lack of rushing identity. So exactly what is going on here? The snap counts tell another interesting story. Miles Sanders has played in above 40% of offensive snaps in 2 of the first 3 games and has played in 97 overall. Darren Sproles has seen 78 and Jordan Howard has seen 60. Now if we take those snaps and translate it to production, Miles Sanders leads the way on 34 attempts, but he's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry, and most of that average was bumped up due to last week's performance. Jordan Howard on 25 carries and 99 yards is averaging 4 yards per carry, while Darren Sproles on a much smaller sample size is averaging 4.6. And as a receiver, Miles Sanders now has 6 receptions across 3 games, leading the team in receiving yards last week. So I don't think this is a balance that anybody saw coming. So the question is, why isn't the combination of Mike Groh and Doug Peterson able to get the most out of Miles Sanders? Is it down to the player? Is it down to the blocking? What is going on with this backfield? Now the one thing that's been bugging me with Miles Sanders is vision, and here we're going to see a situation where both interior guards have to get to the 2nd level, but I don't think this is all on Sanders here. A hole opens up for sure. Should he be cutting upfield? Absolutely, but there was a blocking problem and Jarrad Davis made one hell of a play to come down and take out Miles Sanders. There was nowhere for him to go. Even if he had read that a little bit faster, there's not much he could have done. And if you look at it from the offensive line perspective, Brooks should be at the 2nd level. He gets held up and Lane Johnson then gets squashed. He can't get to his man and help power that double team. So that's not on Miles Sanders. But that same excuse unfortunately can't be translated throughout the game. Here's a similar sort of concept but in the opposite direction, and what I want you to do here is watch the eyes of Miles Sanders, because at this stage you can see there is a rusher right in his face, there is a box to the outside, and instead he takes one cut upfield. It's a real lack of awareness, unfortunately, is the only way to describe this. And unfortunately it's catch-22, because as a rookie running back, I think he's naturally trying to do too much with the ball. Like here, his whole body is facing the back of Lane Johnson, and that is of course going to draw in Devon Kennard to make a tackle, but just look at the size of that open hole. That should easily be a decision, but he makes about 5 or 6 steps before deciding to cut upfield. It's way too much time and Kennard can come down and make the tackle. On this play, he ends up feeling his way through his blocks, putting his hand on the back of both linemen, trying to take a really tight turn upfield, and it's again just too much hesitation. And if we slow it down and take a look, they're going to pull Sayamalo and Andre Dillard, giving him a wall. He's going to run behind them. He's now got a one-on-one matchup with Darius Slay, but he peeks it too early and then tries to cut back inside thinking he'll be accounted for when he's got acres of space outside and a lot of speed at his disposal. It's just a case of what I would call Wendell Smallwood-itis. It's trying to do too much much with the ball. Here, there is a gaping hole. It's easy yardage. He's got to get hit, but instead he follows his blocks, gets a little bit stuttery behind the line, and ends up with a much shorter gain. Same sort of thing here. He's got to be able to put his foot in the ground and turn upfield. I think he's so used to being asked to bounce outside and really rely on that space being there that taking time to adapt to the NFL level is expected. The problem is the Eagles already have a back who can put their foot in the ground, and his name is Jordan Howard. On a read out of the shotgun, look at the difference in patience from Jordan Howard to what we see from Miles Sanders. There's a difference between patience and hesitation, and Howard is able to keep his head up and read what's going on at the level ahead of him, and he may not have that raw athleticism or the sheer explosiveness that Sanders has, but what he does have is a very high football IQ. I pointed this out in a video that said the Eagles should trade for Jordan Howard to begin with all those months ago. The way he's able to keep his head up and read what's going on ahead of him. Look at this play. This happened on Sunday against the Lions. It's a lateral read, and you can see here he's already looking at Jason Peters, who he knows is going to come down, and that opens a hole. You would not see Miles Sanders make that sort of decision. Now he's not perfect. Here you've got a double team outside. This looks like a strong side counter, and you get Jason Peters pushing up to the second level. Howard doesn't make that read, and I think sometimes he can get locked on a bit too concentrated into that one hole. But you're only going to get better at that by being on the field. And the fact is he isn't. He's the best north-south runner that this team has. And the amount of runs they have out of shotgun, he is the only back that runs the ball under center, which is, as we know, 22% of the time they line up in that formation. He falls forward, and in clutch situations, when there is nothing there, he can turn nothing into something. And that's what this team need to establish the run. But if you're going to take him out every few downs, how is he going to anticipate where the pulls are going to come from, where the linebackers are going to try and shoot the gap? You're not going to get that natural feel in a plug-and-play aspect. Instead, the Eagles know they've got a receiving running back in Darren Sproles, a dual-threat elite Hall of Fame running back. They know they've got themselves a downhill runner in Jordan Howard, and it seems that what they're trying to do is make Miles Sanders do all of them. Now, I love this play. This is a wheel route here. It's man coverage, and we mentioned before that when other teams use a lot of pre-snap motion, the Eagles like to move their safety. So as the corner would trail the receiver here, the safety would come down and pick up that responsibility, and the corner would tail off. That doesn't happen with the Lions, which means that because of the absolute chaos that's about to ensue, Miles Sanders can sneak through completely unaccounted for and pick up a nice completion. It's a bit underthrown, that's great. It's a flash of potential, and you get another one here where he gets skinny, gets between the tackles and bursts upfield. That is what the Eagles drafted Miles Sanders for, that kind of read, that kind of athleticism, and the truth is, as of right now, that sort of play is a flash in a night of darkness. It's not happening often, and when it does, the Eagles cling to it for dear life, and they keep him on the field, and maybe that's why he was kept on the field when he fumbled twice in what felt like 2 heartbeats. It was unbelievable, and Sanders does have setbacks. He fumbled 10 times during 38 college games, and he only caught the ball 32 times in 38 college games. But when you get flashes like that, when he does make a good read, the Eagles see the type of bat they like. They use him on a wheel route again here, and he very almost gets in a position to make a catch had it not been slam dunked back down to the ground. And this is the thing, it's not quite there yet. It's potential. You see him lined outside here as a wide receiver, and what you're going to see is Zach Ertz on essentially a pick route. Even this play wouldn't happen had it not been for one of those 50-50 bits of luck that we see down at the line of scrimmage. Now, it's zone coverage. The corner here is looking at Ertz because Carson Wentz looks ready to let that thing rip. He gets nudged out of the way, and because the corners come down, Miles Sanders is wide open. And if you don't believe me, look at how close this was, almost an out route to Zach Ertz here. And it's this sort of thing where Miles Sanders almost gets boosted unfairly. Like, that reception would never normally have come in. That right there is ready to let that rip and wind it back. Instead, he has to step out of the way. Great awareness, and what a throw from Carson Wentz. But overall, Miles Sanders, to me, they're trying to make him do everything. They're getting him at wide receiver. They're running him out of the shotgun. They're trying to make him go between the tackles. It's a do-it-everything back in a committee where you've got someone that specialises in going north and south, and someone that will go down in history as one of the best dual-threat backs of all time. I don't understand why the team are trying to force Miles Sanders to do everything. It just doesn't make sense to me unless they're worried about wear and tear on Sproles with the coaching staff or injuries that we're not yet sure of on Jordan Howard, but I can't quite work it out. All I can see is that Jordan Howard has a niche in this team, and it does so very well. Darren Sproles has a niche in this team. He executes it very well. Miles Sanders will flash for absolute brilliance in those niches, But overall, it's just a Wendell Small level situation because he hasn't had the experience and none of the other running backs can build a rhythm to establish that run. But guys, I would love to know what you think of this situation. Has it changed your opinion? Have I missed anything? Let me know down in the comments. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkinsPSN. I'll see you soon.